small print, but I'll do the best I can. The New York Legal Assistance Group Visionary of Justice Award presented to the Honorable Jonathan Lippman in honor of his leadership, compassion, and commitment to ensuring that all New Yorkers receive the civil legal services they need to attain justice, security, and well-being. May 22nd, 2013.
Thank you, Oken, for that lovely introduction. And I couldn't be happier and more honored and delighted to be here. Tonight, I want to thank Abby Milstein for her passionate leadership of this really organization that should be an example to legal service providers in this state, in this country. And Yisrael Shulman, the president, who has really demonstrated what NYLAG is all about during Sandy, and is just an example of this tremendous organization. And Abby and the board, I thank you all, and all the lawyers who work for NYLAG. And it really is a great undertaking, representing over 50,000 low-income New Yorkers fighting for the necessities of life, the roof over their head, their physical safety, their livelihoods, the well-being of their families. You really do God's work. And this is, I think Sandy was the perfect example of the work that you do. Nothing really had such an impact on us, but this kind of a natural disaster that makes us so aware that when people are in trouble, so much of what it's all about is the need for legal services and legal assistance. My message to you tonight is a simple one. I thank you for the award, and I'm honored again and privileged, but you are really my true heroes. I want you to know how important all of you are in the legal services community, and particularly here at NYLAG, to closing the justice gap between this tremendous need and the finite resources that are available to meet that need. And I want you to know that this Chief Judge, this legal community, this judiciary, so appreciates the work that you do at a time when we are barely meeting 20% of the civil legal services needs in this state, when 2.3 million people come into our courthouses without representation each year, when there are rising poverty levels, when the funding for the Legal Services Corporation in Washington has been so sharply cut back, when IOLA in our own state is such a shadow of what it used to be. We recognize our responsibility to help all of you. And let's face it, if the judiciary and the profession do not stand up for the most vulnerable in our society who need legal services, no one else will. That's the bottom line. And that's why in New York, we've tried to establish a template to support legal services in this state, with a task force that was mentioned before to expand civil legal services, to measure the justice gap, headed by my friend Elaine Barnett, who's here tonight, who is really such a champion of equal justice, a former head of the Legal Services Corporation in Washington, and has really been just an inspiration for all of us. And thank you, Elaine. And with the task force's work and their recommendations, what we have done is put in the judiciary budget, and Elkin had mentioned it before, money to support legal services in this state. And this had never been done before, and the reason why we did it now, recognizing this crisis that we face in New York and around the country, is that legal services for the most disadvantaged in our society is not tangential to what we do in the judiciary. It is so fundamental to our constitutional mission to foster equal justice in this state and in this country. And we have been very fortunate to get significant judiciary funding through the legislature and the executive to support all of you and to support equal justice. And the bottom line is, and my perspective as the Chief Judge, is that if we don't have equal justice, we might as well close the courthouse doors and our law office doors, because this is what we do. This is what lawyers do. This is what judges do. And in so many ways, everyone in our society, we pursue justice. That is what we do, and that's why it's so important. And with all the funding that we've got in New York State, I have to tell you, and we're very proud of that it is literally the tip of the iceberg. There is not enough money in the world to meet the need. And the bottom line is we also need the voluntary pro bono efforts of the bar to provide legal services to the poor. And we have to tap new resources to do that. And we've focused on our lawyers, the baby boomers, who are getting near retirement and want to do something meaningful, and that's so important with our Lawyer Emeritus program. And we're also focusing on, very importantly, the new generation of lawyers in our state. And that's what that 50-hour pro bono requirement is all about. And we're proud we're the first state in the country to do that, and not because we want these kids to jump through hoops before they can become a lawyer. We want to get it in their DNA that this is what being a lawyer is all about. That if you want to be a lawyer in New York, you have to embrace the core values of our profession. First and foremost, which is service to others. That's what being a lawyer is all about. This is a noble profession, and we want the law school students of today to understand that. And the bar has been great, and they give an average of $2.5 million hours a year to pro bono each and every year, and they're generous in their contributions. But it is so important that this new generation of lawyers who are going to be of such great assistance in this battle to narrow and eliminate the justice gap, it's so important that it's in the fiber of their being that this is what lawyers do. And it's very important that we teach new lawyers in the law school is about property and torts and contracts, and it's very important that we teach them about practical skills, but it's also critical that we teach them about the ethos of being a lawyer and what it means to be a lawyer, which is above all service to others. So whatever role they have, whether it's in a legal service with a legal service provider or in private practice, pro bono is what we do. Helping others, serving those who are most vulnerable in our society is what we do. And for all of us in the legal profession and in the judiciary, we understand that it is our constitutional, ethical, and moral obligation to foster equal justice. And that's what every day of the year you all do in NYLAG, and so many other providers around the state, that NYLAG is such a great example. And this is what your job is. This is what you do, pursuing justice. And that responsibility, this is not something new. It goes back to biblical times and the Old Testament mandates. Justice, justice shall you pursue, for rich and poor, high and low alike. This is our mission. We need an army of people to solve the justice gap. And we have to be bold and creative in getting the army of people to support NYLAG and the other people in the trenches doing this work. And for far too long, we've all taken the legal services community for granted, and said, gee, that's a job for legal services. And you know what? Wrong. That's a job for all of us in the judiciary, and all of us in the profession now understand with this terrible economy that we're in, that it is our obligation to support NYLAG, and all of the others really doing God's work. And my message to you tonight is to keep up the good fight. We really are doing such terrific things. You are doing such terrific things. I think help is on the way. We are really changing the dialogue in this state and hopefully in this country, realizing that our priorities, that legal services for the poor is just as important as the other priorities which are so essential in our society: housing and education and hospitals. And we have to get across that when you let people fall off the cliff in these difficult economic times, everybody loses. You know, every society is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable citizens. And we can and should be judged by how we treat the most disadvantaged in this state. So I just want to tell you that the work that you do at NYLAG is so critical, and I'm so proud to be with all of you here. This is just a spectacular organization. Again, I think a model for this state and this country. I thank you all for what you do, and it's my honor and privilege to be with you. Thank you so much.